Hi, my name is Michael or Kubera, and let's begin with this. It looks like this part of our site isn't working right now. Please try again later. Thanks for your patience. So, today's video is why Chase Bank is absolutely terrible. This is going off of the recent scandal and my own experience where I'm abroad. This has happened for the umpteenth time. My account is blocked. I have no access to $500 plus, which would pay for my rent, which would pay for a new mattress, which would pay for a new chair, which would pay for food, which would pay for a lot of things. But nope, I have no access to it. I spent the past 3+ hours discussing through Skype, because I can't call normally, through Skype with Chase Bank representatives, and thanks to the pandemic, it is going to take a while to resolve this, where in actuality, I don't think there is a resolution. Yeah, let's discuss why Chase Bank is absolutely terrible, and this is coming from a customer of 6+ years.
So welcome everybody. This is a screenshot of what is currently in my bank account. It's $728.07. So $300 from that came from a sponsored video. An additional $172 and some cents came from YouTube. An additional $4.12 came from PayPal. And then $300 came from my family, where I got deducted for like $34 for negative fees or whatever. But whatever. I'm not going to discuss that. Although actually I might, because Chase didn't refund me the $34 for a negative fee for something that I shouldn't have been charged anyway. So in the corner, you might see that debit card coverage is off, which means that if something charges me into the negatives, it's not allowed. If it's off, it shouldn't go into a negative balance. But since this recurring charge, it was only recurring because it was repeated a second time, and I emailed the company like, hey, you gotta stop. This is a subscription that I do not want. It's $300 because they wanted to charge for a year up front, and ultimately it got rejected, but Chase gave me a $34 negative fee anyways, because thanks to that charge, my account went negative. So it was a huge charge, $300, but whatever. This is 100 USD to PLN right now, where let's refresh. It's at 420.61. It's now at 419.12. I'm a little worried and frustrated because the longer this goes on, the more the US dollar might drop, and the worth of that $728 will differ. However, currently it's still very high. If we look at the past year, as you can see here, it's usually 392, 384, while here it's, even up to 429. So this is how much $728.07 after a refresh is worth. It's 3,051 PLN. And I want you to keep track of this number, because I want you to notice that $728 is a lot of money. But that is for you Americans, while here in Poland, if you're living abroad as I am, 3,000 PLN is a lot of money. It can pay for my rent for the next 3 months, plus have money left over. So my rent, I'm living with my girlfriend, we're splitting rent, and it's 900 PLN. So times 3, that's 2,700 PLN right there, with 300 plus left over. That's good for food. That's good for a lot of food. That's 2 grocery store trips. Now, I mentioned a mattress. We have a crappy mattress. We'd like to replace it so our back wouldn't hurt. It's not a lot of money. It's $100, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting on this money to try and replace the mattress. It's a new apartment. I also don't have a chair, so I have this crappy chair that I'm sitting on. I used to have a good chair, but I had to sell that. Well, I'd use the money. We'd have everything set up. We'd have this month paid for, rent, food, everything. Got the mattress, got the chair. I'd be able to upload more videos. My back wouldn't hurt. Everything would be fine. But nope. Chase had to block it. And I know this might seem like a rant, but here is the average salary in Poland based on where you live. So I used to live in the most expensive section, I guess, because that's where the capital, Warsaw, is based. And the average salary, monthly salary, is 5,621 PLN. Now, that is a gross salary right there, as you can see. And that means before taxes are deducted and other fees. So let's do 5,621 41 times 0.7, so let's say a 30%. Some people might pay more than that, others might pay less, but when I worked at IKEA, that's around 30% is how much they deducted from me. So 5,621 seems like a lot, and it's down to 3,934.70. So that's in the highest paid section. Now I'm living in the 4769 section towards the bottom of Poland right there. 4769 times 0.7, and we are around the rate that I have currently in my bank account, 3,338.30. So that's after taxes are deducted, and you can see that's the average salary. So you've got a lot of people who are making around that. You got a lot of people who are making over that, but you also have a lot who are making well underneath that. They're making 2,500, and that is a lot of money. That's over 1 month of everything. So every expense that you want, health insurance, you got to pay for internet, you got to pay for your phone bill, you got to pay for food, groceries, everything. That pays for everything. And let's just do last example here, the uppermost region. If you go to the east, never eat soggy waffles, there we go. Northeast, Warmińsko-Mazurskie, you have 3841 there, 3841 times 0.7, you have 2688. And most of the regions around Poland is red, as you can see. So most of the regions, average salary, monthly salary is less than I have in my bank account. So that is just to show you that money is worth so much more in Poland. It's worth 2-3 times more than it is in America, and that is why I am so frustrated. If you go to Chase Bank on Twitter, you can see Chase Bank receives PPP loan application on day 1 from a small business owner in New York. Chase disaster emails small business that they can't answer questions. 2 weeks pass by, the funds are exhausted for this small business owner, and the business closes, and that is just one example over there. You go down a little bit. It's so obvious now that Chase has funded the money of the PPP to their important big clients. Me and 10 of my friends who actually applied for PPP within the first hour of its launch did not receive a penny. We request investigation on Chase. 2 companies in California filed a class action lawsuit against JP Morgan Chase Bank alleging unfair business practices towards small businesses that applied for coronavirus-related loans under the government's Paycheck Protection Program. Guys, this is why crypto is a thing. This is why it's so popular. And this is why if you go to CoinMarketCap right now, it's going to be $7,500 and above. So it's $7,586 for Bitcoin. You got a lot of interest, and the market cap is $219 billion. It's had a nice rise recently, despite the pandemic, despite the chaos, despite the 20+ million unemployed in America, because people are freaking out. They can't even get their $1,200 stimulus check because Chase Bank and Bank of America and all of these American banks are freaking out right now, and they are prioritizing these high value targets such as million-dollar companies, billionaires, private clients. And that is kind of disgraceful. I get it. They're making more money off of that, but you have a lot of the poor people who can't, and those smaller businesses who can't get their loans, who can't get their checks. Some banks are taking this $1,200 and taking fees away, which they shouldn't be able to do that. Private debt collectors aren't able to take that money away. It shouldn't be taxed. It's $1,200 just to help people who are, going through some trouble right now. They lost their jobs. Well, some banks are taking that because they're like, oh, it's late fees. Oh, you should have paid. They took $1,200 away from a veteran. This wasn't Chase. It was a different bank. But they took it away from a veteran, and they blamed the veteran. Oh, you shouldn't be in debt. Well, most of America is in debt right now. Most of America is in debt during good times, and especially right now, it's gotten even worse. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to update you on a few items that happened last week. Chase Bank has set a new credit standard that other lenders may put into place very soon. They raised qualification standards drastically. You must have a 700 or higher score. So credit score is big for the PPP small business loan applications, and that's why a lot of people are getting rejected. That's why you have people with great credit who don't have much debt, or at least this bad debt that they can't pay off. That's why you have these million-dollar corporations that are able to take a lot of this money And that's why, we have small people like me who are getting screwed by Chase. I'm abroad. My issue is different, but my issue is on the same importance level as these people who can't get their $1,200, who can't get these small business loans, because all of us who aren't these million-dollar corporations are at the bottom. Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin, you're able to send it. That's it. My money, when it's in the bank, isn't really my money until I take it out of the bank, because as you can see, my bank account is frozen right now. They want me to go into my bank physically. I can't do that unless I have a private client banker, which they said, oh yeah, you can just call and verify and everything's going to be fine. Well, with private client banking, you have to have $250,000 or more. And who has $250,000 in a bank account? Well, most people have that invested in real estate or stocks. The only people who have $250,000 in private client bankers are people who are millionaires or higher, right? So you do have a Chase Bank in Warsaw. You do have a Chase Bank in Britain, in Germany, and all these European countries, but it's private clients only. It's not a normal Chase branch. You can't complain about your problems if you have, $50,000, $500, or even $125,000, because they don't care about the small guys. And you've had thousands and thousands of people like me who are stuck in Thailand, in China, in Japan, wherever you are around the world. If you have a different address, if you have a different phone number than an American phone number, they're going to screw you. They're going to shut down your account. For example, I'm going to show you that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Americans who have Chase accounts, who have Bank of America, who have all of this, and they're in Thailand. You got a lot of tech entrepreneurs, you got a lot of crypto entrepreneurs in Bangkok, and catastrophe. Chase Bank froze my accounts. This is from 2018. I've had a Chase account for about 8 years and lived in Thailand on and off for the last 4. Never had any problems handling my accounts from here. I'd rented a place in Berkeley, California for when I go back in a month's time. The new landlord wanted a wire transfer, so I did a wire transfer for $4,800. In California, they have higher rent, plus they're probably doing some extra fees from the very first month. So it seems like a lot of money, but it makes sense. For whatever reason, Chase refuses to say that the wire transfer was rejected, and Chase froze all my accounts. So when my transaction, which wasn't a wire, I just wanted to use Revolut to charge the $500 or whatever, and they put a small fee, like $6-7, it would be a smaller fee than a wire. It immediately flagged the fraud system, and I verified with the fraud team. I called them. I was put on hold for 3 hours. I called them, but I verified, and they said, wait 5 minutes, it should be over. I tried the transaction again. Boom, I have a fraud department message again. So I called the fraud department. They're like, yeah, well, this time you just have to verify your information by going into the bank account. I said, well, first of all, the Chase branches are closed. So even if I was in the States, Chase branches are closed, and the ones that are open have limited hours. You have limited hours on the phone, on support, and there is the coronavirus pandemic right now. So it's not a good idea to be going outside in the first place. And since I'm abroad, it's not like I can travel anyway. So if I had a lot more money in the bank account, there's no flights coming out of Poland unless it's a repatriation flight. So that's not happening. And I don't have enough money to make it worth it to fly back. And it's just crazy. So I told them that over the phone, and it's all about the procedure. They don't care. They said, all you have to do is come into any branch and show 2 pieces of ID, pointing out the impracticality of this instruction to someone 9,000 miles from his nearest branch when you just nixed his debit card was no use. I went through maybe 4 different supervisors, with all of them giving me that unflappable, I'm sorry, sir, have a nice day, thank you for allowing us to serve you. My daughter will go down to her local branch on Monday, maybe it'll get squared away, but maybe not. So this is where a co-owner is a good idea, but even if you have a co-owner like me, where I have my dad who can go into the bank, it is just uncomfortable. It's like you still got to drive out there, you got to waste your time. And right now with this, limited Chase branches are open. Not a good idea. And there's a lot of people who on this forum said, yeah, I had the same problem. There's some people who had $50,000. They had that locked. Bitcoin, 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 guys. So let's finish off this video by going deeper into this Chase scandal and why people are upset. And this is what they were talking about, these large companies. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse repays $20 million government aid loan. So they got $20 million from who? From Chase Bank. And they're handing it back after a lot of people were super upset at them. There was a public backlash against big companies. The PPP ran out of money, so small businesses that even wanted to apply, it's not like their applications were read anyways, but even if they did get somehow approved, well, the whole fund ran out of money. The government wasn't prepared for that. So they signed in a new bill where there's going to be $490 billion to go for these small businesses, and it should help. And there's a new stimulus package that's going to be also worth a few $1 trillion that's going to cause either inflation or higher taxes. but we can't really worry too much about that. It's controversial, but it's like, what are you going to do right now? The economy is falling apart. People are losing their jobs, like it's the Great Depression. And you have tens of thousands of people dying from an invisible enemy. So the PPP was created so companies with up to 500 staff could access loans to keep paying their employees for 8 weeks, even as the businesses were shuttered. You have a lot of stay-at-home orders. You have a lot of these non-essential businesses that have to be closed. But a loophole which allowed subsidiaries of companies to apply independently meant that some large companies got assistance while smaller companies were left with nothing. More than 100 public companies were among those tapping the program, some of which recently raised money through the capital markets. Some of these companies are worth hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars. And it's like, what does that have to do with a business that needs a loan for $10,000 to support its 5 employees, right? Or these small businesses that really don't need even 6 figures. These guys are getting $10 million, $20 million, $30 million. It is crazy. So not only did you have Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, but you also have Shake Shack over here. They made a similar decision to pay back its $10 million PPP loan. Chase also helped out Potbellies from Chicago, even though I love Potbellies, delicious, awesome. It's like, it's a huge company. Here are the big restaurant chains who have and haven't returned their small business loans. On April 16th, the $349 billion first round of the government's Paycheck Protection Program ran out of money after just 13 days. Many people were quickly outraged to learn that while so many small businesses were shut out of getting a loan, you had Ruth's Chris Steakhouse that got $20 million, Potbelly Sandwich Shop, $10 million, Taco Cabana, $10 million. We talked about Shake Shack's $10 million, J. Alexander's $15.1 million. I mean, that's crazy, right? Shake Shack applied early on in the process before it was able to obtain alternate funding by issuing $140 million of new Class A shares. Now, the CEO of Shake Shack did come out and apologize and say the whole loan application process was new. They did it within the first few hours. They had no idea what was going on. They just saw that, hey, their company would be applicable for it. And a lot of these companies, it's not like they're evil and it's not like they wanted to take it away from the small businesses. They had no idea how quickly the PPP would run out of money. They didn't realize that they'd get the money and small businesses wouldn't. So that's why they're giving back, because $10 million for one company could go to 100 different small businesses. And you had another $20 million that was returned and maybe another $10 million. Boom, that's hundreds and hundreds of businesses. But now you had a second phase of the PPP go into action, more hundreds of billions of dollars. So hopefully thousands and thousands of small businesses will this time around be able to get this money that they so badly deserve. But you're going to have a lot of businesses that unfortunately shutter and see ya. So Kura Sushi also got a $6 million loan. We had Sweet Green, $10 million loan, and Ruth's Chris. So those three are going to return. So that is 20 plus $16 million. For the $36 million, you had some other companies. That is a lot of money going back, a lot of small businesses. That's great news. How big banks, including Chase and Citibank, helped virtually all of their wealthiest clients get millions of dollars in pandemic aid, while up to 94% of their smaller customers got none. Up to 94%. That is absolutely crazy. A New York Times report published Thursday found that was hardly the case, as major banks including JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, and US Bank prioritized their richest customers before turning to other loan seekers with shallower pockets. At Citi's private bank, where the minimum account size is $25 million, bankers compiled paperwork and submitted applications directly so customers didn't have to use the overcrowded online portal. That's another thing. You had small businesses and people who couldn't collect their checks on time because the sites, the applications, everything crashed. So not only are they not going through the applications, but they also have the branches closed. They also have the support lines closed, or it's specific hours. They don't work on the weekends, by the way, which they used to. I had to wait an additional 2 days, and that sucks for all the tens of thousands of businesses that were probably trying to reach Chase at that time. But the websites crashed. Everything was crashing. If you have a private bank, though, you're fine. If you have a private banker who's going to call you up and just do all the paperwork for you, you are all good. Nearly all of the 8,500 private and commercial banking clients who applied for a small business loan through Chase received one. Great. So private clients, those with at least $10 million in assets, these are private commercial clients, and that's different from a normal private individual client, which I told you was $250,000. Chase ended up doing $14 billion through PPP, more than any other bank, but still less than half of the $36 million sought by customers. So that is absolutely crazy. You had PPP loans to public companies, and this is why I'm using this website. I know the Daily Mail is controversial. It's going to piss some people off, but you had DMC Global here, $6.7 million. Wave Life Sciences, $7.2 million. This company over here, the DMC, is worth $405 million. That's huge. You had Masonics, you had Optinodes, you had Quantum Corporation, New Age Beverages, Zag, Veritone, Potbellies over there, Natural Gas Services, CPI Aerostructures, Crawford United. These are all giant companies that are worth a lot of money. J. Alexander's Holdings, so anything from environmental stuff to energy, to soda pop, to restaurants, to whatever. All of these industries, hotels, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they were the first ones to get it. Why? Because of privilege, because of priority access, and because the banks make more money off of them, whether it's in the short term or in the long term. Your stimulus check could be seized by your own bank. We're not even going to go into that, but that's by Forbes. So that title alone tells you a lot, and that's what I was discussing about how banks are seizing it for debt. The last thing we're going to discuss here is someone who's a very, very frustrated owner of a small business, and he's discussing his experience with JP Morgan Chase. His lender of 30 years told him applications would not be processed online until April 6th because it was having some difficulties in rolling out the program to their clients. Sorrentino says he tried numerous times to get his application processed on April 6th, but the system kept crashing. On Monday, we started to send the application, but the site crashed all the time. Finally, on Wednesday, he was able to submit his application. The maximum loan amount for each business was $10 million, or 2.5 times their monthly payroll. Based on his expenses, Sorrentino expected to get up to $1,442,500, 2.5 times the monthly payroll at his 3 restaurants. So it's not like he's a small business owner. He's rather large, but he's not as large as these other businesses. So he's got a lot of employees on the line, and this is where it gets really tricky because he does deserve it compared to Roost Steakhouse or Potbellies. JP Morgan Chase provided publicly traded companies with PPP loans while putting Sorrentino's application on ice. According to a Morgan Stanley note, JP Morgan provided 31% of the loan amount publicly traded firms said they got through PPP. The day the PPP program ran out of money, Chase sent Gianfranco no notification. Several of his emails went unanswered. I felt very disappointed because after 30 years you deal with a bank, personally and business-wise, I felt that they could have been more proactive, and let me know what was going on. 2 days after the funds had run out, Sorrentino says he finally got a phone call from a Chase rep informing him that his loan application for the Leopard was approved by Chase and had been sent over to the SBA. He was told that the applications for his 2 other restaurants, Gapardo and Mozzarella and Vino, were still on hold because Chase hadn't had enough time to review them yet. So he did get a loan, but he didn't because he got 1/3 of what he was looking for. He has 3 restaurants, so the Leopard, that got it, great. Finally, Chase called him this week to inform him that all 3 of his loan applications had been processed and been sent to the SBA. Chase granted loans to virtually all of its commercial banking customers while processing about 18,000 loans out of more than 300,000 applications it received through its business banking unit for smaller business customers. While denying that it prioritized larger commercial banking clients, Chase said its commercial banking clients had their loans processed faster because that unit got fewer applications. Sorrentino says he hopes that once a new round of PPP funding becomes available, it's not going to dry up before they get to my application. Receiving the funds, however, wouldn't put Sorrentino's mind at ease. It would only let him start thinking about how his restaurants can survive once the economy reopens. I'm worried that when I eventually open, the business is going to be very slow. If I use all the PPP money in these 2 months, what am I going to do in the next 2 months? And even though you might get a loan, and even though you might get approved and the money gets into your bank account, there are some restrictions that go with the loan. Independent restaurants that did get funding are still deep in the red, according to the IRC. For the small groups that did receive funding, they won't be able to keep their employees working after that cash runs out. Restaurants are cash flow businesses, and until they can generate revenue, they'll still have a hard time maintaining a payroll whenever they reopen. So this guy initially wasn't able to get his loan. He did get it after a while, but he got it way after all these larger companies did get it. And he was looking for over $1 million for his 3 restaurants. So if he had 1 restaurant, that's only a couple $100,000 that he'd get. Still, he got it eventually, just because he was a larger client than some of these smaller businesses, an ice cream shop that's looking for $10,000. So we had this Chase scandal, we had my own problems, and guys, we're going to end this video finally. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share your opinion down below, what your experience was with Chase. If you're abroad, an American, you don't have an American phone number, I do have my American address. I'm still registered technically with my parents. It still doesn't matter. I have to have a co-owner. Without a co-owner in the account, I'd be screwed. My account's frozen still. A week later, goodbye, had nothing done. Even though I wasted hours on calls and whatever. They have much larger problems right now. And they had a class action lawsuit in California going on because small businesses weren't able to get these loans. Guys, this is why people are turning to cryptocurrency, because they want that money and they want control over that money. When you have money in a bank account, it's not yours. So anyways, I'll leave you with that. See you guys. Bye.